And good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are at or whenever you are listening to this. My name is TJ Hollingsworth, and you've tuned in to Judy and TJ's Midlife Adventures podcast, companion piece to our YouTube channel by the same name. TJ here, as I mentioned a few moments ago, I'm going solo today. As you'll find most of the times here on the podcast, it's just going to be me because I work from home, so I'm at home today. And Judy is in her office downtown Indianapolis tonight. So it's just me right now. Get excited. Anyway, so glad you're here. We've got a couple of things we're going to talk about today. I'm going to give just a few minutes here. I usually don't even post. I'm going live on this. And in full disclosure, the reason I do these podcasts live is because I do not have the time to record them, do any editing or production on them, and then re-upload them. I keep threatening to get some theme music and some other stuff in here, and when I've got my soundboard set back up, I'll definitely do that. But I don't think anybody's going to listen to or not listen to a podcast based on whether there's intro music or not. Let's be real. There's only a handful of folks that listen to this anyway, which is cool. I'm grateful for that. And if it grows beyond that, cool. If not, no big deal. But, we'll work into it. We'll just ease into it. That way you don't get bored with me too super quick. Anyway, we'll go ahead and get bouncing. Today is May the 11th. I'm recording this at almost 9:45 a.m. in the morning, which would be Eastern Standard Time. And as I mentioned, it is May in Indianapolis, which means one thing and one thing only, and that is the Indianapolis 500-mile race is less than 3 weeks away. In fact, we are talking just a handful of days. Having said that, track is not opened yet. There is an event that kicks off the month of May at the Speedway. Now, if you're from Central Indiana, there are all kinds of different events, including this last Saturday was I don't even know how many they've had now, the Indianapolis 500 Festival Mini Marathon, which I do believe is still the largest half marathon, mini marathon, half marathon, whatever you want to call it. It is the largest one in the country. I did do that back in the day, back in the 70s, back when I was in junior high school. I was in seventh grade, and I ran that with my brother-in-law. My wife, Judy, who is the co-host of our YouTube channel, she has participated in the mini marathon more recently. I think she did it 2 or 3 times. I kind of lose track. Excuse me, I need to clear my throat. Excuse me. Sorry about that. If you are in the Midwest, you know what's going on. Things are getting green, and pollen is going through the roof. And we live out in the country. I am surrounded directly behind me as I sit here at the microphone is a empty field. I don't know if it's going to have corn or soybeans in it, but to my left or to the east, to the west are woods, and to the right are woods. I'm surrounded by woods and corn and soybeans, which can mean one thing only, and that is tons and tons of pollen. So I got that going for me. So you have to excuse me if I'm just a little groggy on the voice. Anyway, back to the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Cars get on the track for the Cambridge Grand Prix. It used to be the Indianapolis Grand Prix, but they've here in the recent years have started kicking off the month of May with a road race on the road course at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. The track itself, as far as road courses go, and I'm going diving a little deep for all you gearheads out there. The track is very cool. It's very flat, not a lot of elevation changes on it, but the surface is phenomenal. Not very bumpy, makes for some really, really good racing. Will Power from Team Penske has owned the road race. He's won 5 of those events. 5 of, I think this will be number 8 or number 9. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Sorry about that. I probably should have taken an allergy tablet or something before I started this. But Will Power is dominating that, and we will see if he should continue to do so. The reason I bring that up, though, is the Grand Prix will be on Saturday, and I believe it is Tuesday. Let me check the schedule here. The following Tuesday is when practice starts for the Indianapolis 500, and they just have stuff up for they don't have the schedule up yet, but sorry about that. Whole reason I bring this up is I am going to be spending a lot of time down there. I am very fortunate through my family to be a credentialed person at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, which means have access to the garage area, pit area, and have places like that. The only reason I bring that up, though, is I can get some insight. I'm not going to say behind the scenes because we're not going to be, hanging out with any teams or crew people, although know a few folks in that world. I'm sure we'll run into them, but I'm just going to be doing a ton of video stuff, just kind of my experience at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. I've literally been going there since birth. My family was deeply, deeply involved in motorsports, the IndyCar series in the 1960s and 70s in particular. And that whole story we can get into. That might be another podcast, but it's just been a big part of my life forever. I'll be 55 here in August, and this is the one of the highlights of the year every year is to figure out how I can spend as much time as possible at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. If you are from outside of Central Indiana and you cannot get to IMS, uh, everything that's going on at the Speedway this year will be televised either on network TV, NBC, or on their streaming service, their app, Peacock. Now, I believe to access the motorsport stuff and some of the Peacock extras, which the practice days will be, you have to fork over $5 a month. Uh, to me, it's a bargain. To me, it'd be worth the what is that, $60 for the year. It'd be worth it for that to have access to the practice stuff, and then everything else you get would be a bonus. But if you have any interest in racing or the Indy 500, maybe you just are into racing for the big events like Indy 500, Daytona. I know we just had the Kentucky Derby, and everybody's a horse racing fan one day a year. That's during the Kentucky Derby. So if that is you, what's really cool is through the Peacock app, you can watch all of practice along with color commentary during. So it's not just you're watching a video feed; it's video with commentators interview. It is fantastic, absolutely fantastic. In fact, you'll find a lot of people while they're at the track during practice will have their phones up watching the app just so they can get the color commentary on that. I don't work for IMS. I don't work for the 500. I don't work for the IndyCar Series. I don't work for NBC. Just sharing you some information. It's really good. I highly recommend it. If you have any interest in it at all, and you can cancel it whenever you want, I believe so, et cetera, et cetera. But we'll be taking you there. I will probably, I'm trying to think here, Friday. They do a lot. The road race setup is a little different than it is for the 500. For the 500, they're going to have 3 full days of practice before they qualify. They take most of a week off, and they come back Friday, the Friday of Memorial Day weekend. They have what's called Carb Day. Carb is short for carburetors, which they no longer use. They haven't in many years. However, the name is stock. It's called Carb Day. And originally, back in, I think it was the 40s, they started doing Carb Day. It was the final day of practice. Essentially, what they did is they opened the track up for an hour during the time of day that the Indy 500 would be run, which traditionally it would go off at 11 o'clock, and now it goes off a little after 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. But the idea was it gave teams, back when carburetors ruled the day, it gave teams an opportunity to run, get one practice session in at what the best opportunity to have the weather conditions be the same. And when you're adjusting a carburetor, the air temperature, the humidity, all these other factors can figure in as to whether your car is going to run really well because you have the carburetor adjusted correctly, or it blows up in a puff of smoke in a million pieces. So the Carb Day thing just kind of stuck. When they went to fuel injection, they just kept the name, and for traditional reasons, they still call it Carb Day. But on Carb Day, you have not only the final practice session, they have the pit stop competition, which is really neat. And what's really cool is they let the fans come down on the racetrack for that. So the cars are actually in the pits, but fans can get up along the racetrack to see down into the pit area to watch the easy for me to say, right? The pit stop contest. And then there's a big concert that they have every year. This year's a pretty good one. They tend to bring in nostalgia acts. And when I say nostalgia, it just means it's nothing that's pop or contemporary. It tends to be something that's a little older, musical acts that have a little bit of longevity to them. This year you got Lita Ford, used to be the Runaways, and was huge in the 80s. Lita Ford. You then have, I'm going to screw this up. Oh, you have Mayhem. Or no, it's not Mayhem. It's shoot. Now I've got myself all frustrated, but it's a super group. Sebastian Bach on vocals from Skid Row. You have Matt Sorum, who played drums with the Cult and Guns N' Roses. It's just a super group, and they're all going to be playing, just classic songs and songs from each one of their own musical projects. So that'll be real cool. And the headliner is Rick Springfield. So it's very 80s oriented. But let's look at the demographic of the people who go to the race. It's hitting right home. So it'll be a good time. But that's all on Friday, Carb Day. I will be down there all next week, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And I'm just going to be shooting video. I'll be doing some live stuff on YouTube. Some of it will be, I'll come back that night, produce it, and upload it. But it's not going to be driver interviews and here's what's going on at the track here. It's just going to kind of be me wandering around showing you things that I think are interesting. Some of it will be in the garage area, some of it will be in the pit area, some will just be walking around with people, maybe talking to some folks. I don't know. It's just going to kind of be whatever happens to present itself. We will go ahead and tape. I say we. I will go ahead and tape it and put it online. So you've got that to look forward to. Wanted to touch base on the YouTube channel as well. We have been pretty busy on that since the last time we talked. I've got a couple of new videos up. In fact, I'm uploading one right now as we speak. But I was telling you a little bit about our property here. We own a little over 4.5 acres, of which there are quite a bit of woods. We have a little patch of woods just right outside the front door to the right, maybe a third of an acre. And then there's a creek that runs north to south on the western border of our property. And it is just littered with trees, mostly little 4 and 5 inch little walnut saplings. We've lived here about 7 years now. And previous to us, actually 2 owners before us, our home was a bed and breakfast and was nicely landscaped. The wooded area was all taken care of. Well, when the folks that owned it before we did bought it, they just quit tending to that, and it quickly became overgrown. So in order to better utilize that, had a gentleman come out with a really, really cool device. Imagine, I'm trying to think of, imagine a giant shredding, just a monster shredding machine that eats trees. And that's what this guy brought out. I shot some video of it. It's on our YouTube channel. You can go to youtube.com/Judy and TJ's Midlife Adventures, or easiest way to do it is just type in the search engine, Judy and TJ's Midlife Adventures. They'll pop up. And the video is called the Cat 229 D3XE with forestry mulcher eats dead trees. And man, I'll tell you, that's exactly what this thing did. So if you can imagine a big bulldozer or a skid loader, a little bigger than what you'd see, picking up packages at an Amazon warehouse. But instead of a big bucket on the front is this giant drum that was every bit as wide as a machine was. So 6 feet wide and maybe, 5 feet in diameter with these giant teeth on it. This thing spins around at about 1,800 RPM, and it just, everything it runs over, it turns into mulch. So we had a lot of deadfall trees that were laying on the ground. We had a lot of these little saplings that were just a result of squirrels bearing walnuts from a couple walnut trees we have. It was really cool because all these trees were about the same size. So you knew how old they were based on they were probably all what was not dealt with when it was landscaped 8 or 9 years ago. But this thing just came and just mulched everything it ran over: weeds, twigs, limbs, small trees. It was just absolutely amazing. And then at the end of it, we had an ash tree that had got infested with ash borer, died, and was getting to the point where we were starting to worry about falling on the house in a storm. And this thing just went over and pushed it over. Root ball and everything came right up. So if you like watching things get mulched up and destroyed, or if you're one of those people who likes watching YouTube videos where they drop different items into a mulching machine, you're going to love this. So you can check that out. We also did something pretty cool. We tried one of the box prepared meal delivery programs. You may have seen these on YouTube or in your Facebook feed or something like that. Essentially, you go online, you pre-order meals. They're pre-cooked. Their nutrients, their protein, macronutrients, what's called the protein, carbohydrates, fats, all predetermined. They put it into this healthy meal, prepackage it, and all you have to do is heat it up and eat it. I'm very busy during the day. Judy is 10 times as busy as I am. She's an administrator at a hospital here in town. So, by the time the day's over, the last thing either one of us want to do is really, cook. And we found ourselves going out to eat more and more. And it was just kind of like we were wasting money. It got to be, I'm sure you've all been there where you don't want to cook. So you go, all right, let's go out to eat. All right, here we go. And you go and you don't really, where do you want to go? Oh, I don't care. Where do you want to go? And you end up going someplace you compromise on. It's very unrewarding. And you just kind of feel like, man, I just spent $60 and didn't really feel like I got $60 worth of entertainment or meal out of it. So anyway, we decided to try the box meals. And in this one, we ordered from a company called Metabolic Meals. Now, again, they are not a sponsor. They did not send us these for free. We paid for them. And you can check that out. You can see how that we did an unboxing and we tried them. You can check that out as well. And then last night we did something really cool. It's something we've done, I don't know, probably 100 times before, probably more than that. But there is a legendary, there's a legendary drive-in restaurant in Central Indiana, and it's called Mug and Bun. It's located near the intersection of 10th and Lyndhurst. and Speedway. It's just right around the corner from the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. And I did a video a few weeks ago for folks that were coming into town for the Indy 500 called 5 Places You Must Visit when in Indy. In fact, let me pull this thing up here. It's called 5 Must-See Places When Coming to the Indy 500 in 2020. You can have a look at that too as you want. That's also on our channel. But just, people always going, where should I go? What should I do? So I picked out 5 of what I thought were probably the coolest places to me. Everybody's going to be a little different. And Mung Bun was on there. So I thought, last night was one of those days I'd cut the grass. I was like on the mower for 3 hours. Judy had a long work day, about a 11 and a half, 12-hour work day. So say, hey, let's go to Mung Bun. And we ended up taping it all. And it was a good time. And you can check that out. That should be ready here in the next half hour, 45 minutes. It's uploading very slowly. So, yeah, that'll be right in a couple of minutes. But I also wanted to touch on a couple other things. Oh, real quick, the Indy 500 stuff will all be on Judy and TJ's Midlife Adventures on YouTube. I might do a couple of drop-ins here just to chit-chat a little bit, but all the video content will be on there. So make sure, if you haven't already, jump over to YouTube, subscribe, ring the notification bell. You know how that works. If you don't, I should probably take a minute and do this, because if you've ever watched YouTube, anybody that is a content provider, somebody that's, on a regular basis is putting up videos, you always hear them say, hey, please help us out. Please subscribe, ring the notification bell, give us a thumbs up. Real quick, like I can say anything real quick, right? Real quick, what that does, when you subscribe to somebody's YouTube channel, if you're a little older, the word subscription usually means some form of payment. No, that's not it. When you subscribe to a YouTube channel, all that means is you have said to YouTube, please let me know when this person or these people post a video. And what will happen is you drop down your menu. We watch most of our YouTube on our TV, on our smart TV. So I'm going to assume that you do the same thing. And if not for your phone, it's a little different, but not much. But essentially, you can go over. There's a places you open, even your app. Well, a tab that reads subscriptions. You punch that, and here's all your the channels you subscribe to, and you can kind of see what they're doing. When you ring the notification bell, right? When you subscribe, you're given the option right next to it. It'll be a little tiny bell. When you click that, that simply means that you're asking YouTube to notify you when that person or that channel posts something new. So when you open your YouTube app, you'll get a little bell, and it'll have a number in it, anywhere 1 from whatever. And each one of those digits represents somebody that you subscribe to who has posted a new video. And the thumbs up is a button. You go, hey, I like this video. You give it a thumbs up. So you hear that all the time. Here's what this does. One, by subscribing. When a YouTube channel has over 1,000 subscribers, they've had their videos watched for an accumulative 4,000 hours, they are eligible to be monetized by YouTube. What that means is if you have a free YouTube account and you see those commercials that'll pop up either before or in the middle of a video, YouTube shares a small portion of that revenue with the content provider. So we're not monetized yet. We're working on it. But let's say we were, and you've subscribed, you've rung the notification bell, you've done all that stuff. So when the video pops up and a commercial comes up, YouTube would pay us, usually it's around 2 or 3 cents per commercial. So it's not a tremendous amount of money. For this to become lucrative, you have to have hundreds of thousands of subscribers and, have lots and lots of views. But having said that, every little bit helps, especially with gas at $4.39 a gallon, as it is here in central Indiana today. So when you hear people asking you to subscribe to their YouTube channel, that's what they're doing. They're trying to help them. They're asking you to help them cover some of their expenses so they can be monetized. Again, it doesn't cost you a darn thing, which is really cool. I like that about YouTube. You can pay for YouTube, and if you do that, it simply does nothing more than make sure that you don't have to watch or listen to ads when you're going, and it also gives you the ability to, if you're paying for YouTube, which is $8 or $9 a month, something like that. One of the other cool things it does is it allows you to listen to YouTube with your screen closed. So, for example, if you are working, or maybe you're doing something like I was doing yesterday, you're out on your mower and you're riding along, and you'd like to listen to Joe Rogan, but you can't watch it because you're doing something else. When you have that paid service, you can close your phone, but the audio will still play. So anyway, so when you hear us talking about please like and subscribe our channel, that's what that does. That's what that helps out with. It takes 2 seconds to do, and it is a huge help. The other thing it does is the more people that watch a video and react to it with a comment or a thumbs up, the evil algorithm, which we hear about all the time, essentially that's YouTube helping people who are figure out what they want to watch. The more your videos watched, the more likely YouTube is to suggest it to somebody else. So it's kind of one of those small things. It's a random act of kindness you can do to help YouTube providers or content providers. If you like what they're seeing, they're not asking you for money. They're not asking you to send them bucks every month. It's just like the video, subscribe if you can. If you've got an account, accounts are free. Help people out. Why don't you try that? But that's why we do that. But anyway, the reason I wanted to bring up YouTube is because we have kind of come to the decision that we are not going to be traveling with the motorhome nearly as much as we had planned on this year. And that was going to be a big chunk of our content for this channel, was going and seeing new things and exploring stuff and taking you guys with us. When we came up with this plan a little over 7-8 months ago, gasoline was still in the mid $2 a gallon range. And of course, nobody can foresee the future that far. We had no idea that the price was going to practically double. And we have a small Class A motorhome, but it still has a 75-gallon fuel tank on it. And motorhomes do not get good gas mileage at all. So it's just becoming where it's going to be cost prohibitive for us to do anything too extravagant. We'd planned on doing some driving. We're going to take you to the Smoky Mountains, Niagara Falls, some beautiful area up in Wisconsin. We're going to go to a couple IndyCar races as well and take you with us on that. But it's just not going to be feasible to do that in the motorhome. Now, having said that, we are still going to be taking the motorhome out in and around central Indiana, places where, within a couple of 2-3 hour drive, it kind of makes it manageable as far as the finances are concerned. But when we do that, we're still going to be taking you with us. And just want to give everybody a heads up, it's not going to be the content we'd intended to provide. However, as Stone Cold Steve Austin said, we're going to try and make chicken salad out of chicken shit, and we're going to deal with this. Hopefully, things will turn around very, very quickly, and we'll see that gas price come back down to something that's a little more affordable for everybody. I cannot imagine what it's like for those of you out there that are living paycheck to paycheck, and suddenly have your gasoline, your budget doesn't, your income doesn't increase, but your expenditures doubled, literally in a matter of months. I empathize with that. Thankfully, working from home, I don't have to drive around very much. Most of the trips I take around town are optional. So, thoughts are with you guys, and hopefully that the gas thing gets solved sooner rather than later. And hopefully we don't have to wait till the midterms to do that. All right, before we wrap up here, I want to just do a follow-up to our conversation from last time, 2 weeks ago. We were talking about being brave enough to suck at something brand new. And essentially, if you don't understand what that means, it means that as we get later in life, we tend to gravitate towards the things we know. And for a lot of folks, it can be very intimidating to try any type of new activity, especially anything that requires learning a new skill. That is not good on a multitude of reasons. And we get into every one of them on last week's podcast, or I should say our last episode a couple of weeks ago. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, go ahead and pause this now and go back and listen to that, because I don't want to rehash the whole episode. But I did have a great example I wanted to share with you, and it kind of ties in with the month of May and with what's going on right now here in central Indiana. Look no further than 7-time NASCAR Cup champion Jimmie Johnson. Jimmie Johnson is one of the most celebrated race drivers to ever drive a stock car. Just to give you some idea, we're going to geek out a little bit. 83 wins in the Cup Series, which is the top tier of NASCAR racing. 374 top 10s, 36 pole positions, 36 times. Jimmie Johnson was the fastest qualifier. Jimmie Johnson retired 2 years ago from NASCAR Cup competition. Had nothing left to prove. Jimmie is in his late 30s. Let me check this out. I got his Wikipedia page pulled up here. Probably should have looked this up first. Yeah, he's 46 years old. So literally nothing left to prove about his ability as a racer or anything. He has done everything he can in NASCAR. Won, like I said, 7 championships. Won every major race that series has. Really, 3 championships in a row. I cannot tell you. Look around, folks. Look around. Look around at any major sports league, Major League Baseball, the NHL, NFL, NBA. 3 championships in a row is virtually impossible. Jimmy Johnson did that. So the reason I'm telling you this is because Jimmy Johnson clearly, as an athlete, as a race driver, had nothing to prove to anybody. But Jimmy Johnson grew up wanting to race in the IndyCar series. And if you're not aware of the difference between NASCAR and IndyCar, NASCAR essentially is what they call stock cars. There's nothing stock about them. However, the cars are built to resemble what is on the showroom at your local Ford dealer, your local Chevy dealer, your Toyota dealer. They're sedan cars, and of course, they're race cars. They're nothing. They're not even other than the way they look. That's where the similarities end. So it's the car's got a roof on it, driver's seat, space for a passenger seat. You see cars like this on the road all the time. Well, an Indy car is a completely different beast. It is what we call a formula car, which means it's a single seater. The driver sits in the middle of it, and there's no roof on it. There's no doors, and the wheels are open. There's no fenders or anything around the wheel. So open wheel, open cockpit. That's a formula car. Indy cars are also a lot faster for a multitude of reasons, not the least of which is they weigh less. They have as much, if not a little more horsepower, and they go faster. Where a stock car might top out at the right racetrack at 202, 203 miles an hour in a straight line. In Indianapolis, going into turn number 1 on qualifying day, those cars will be approaching 240 miles an hour, and they'll average 229 to 232 per lap for a whole lap. But their top speed is over 240 miles an hour. So completely different beast. The technique that it takes, just the mechanics of driving the car, although what's the big deal? You sit in, you turn the steering wheel. It is completely different. It feels different. It is just a completely different discipline. It's why a tennis player might be all right why am I just drawing this blank? A tennis player might be really good at playing racquetball, but a great racquetball player will demolish a tennis player and vice versa in their own disciplines because they are different. They look similar, but they're completely different. So this is no different whatsoever. However, Jimmy Johnson, at the age of, he was 44 when he started racing IndyCar, was brave enough to suck at something brand new. And when I say suck, in this instance, this is no exaggeration because Jimmy Johnson, in his first 2 years of racing IndyCar, has been absolutely terrible. Now, I say this with the utmost respect, and I am comparing him to the other people he raced with. Because you get those feverish NASCAR Jimmy Johnson fans, well, I don't see you out there. No, you don't, because I am not a professional race driver at that level. What I'm saying is, compared to the people that he's racing with, he is absolutely terrible. His first year, Jimmy Johnson only did the road courses. Those are racetracks with left hand and right hand turns. NASCAR does very little road racing. There's 2 or 3 of them a year, and there's 29 that aren't. So he is used to going straight, turning left, going straight, turning left, oval racing. Jimmy Johnson did not crack the top 15 his first season in racing IndyCar. Not even close. He usually had issues keeping the car on the racetrack. Cool thing was he didn't really hit a whole lot on these road courses and street races, which is where they build a racetrack out of the streets in a particular city or area or what have you. But he would spin and drive off course pretty frequently, which those that understand the sport, that was completely expected. However, the rest of the public that casually follows the sport was shocked. How can this guy be a champion in one form of racing but so bad in another form? Well, it's because they're completely different. Now, when you and I talk about sucking at something new, I'm talking about maybe you've never played golf, so you're going to pick up golf. Or maybe you've never fly fished, so you're going to try and learn how to operate a fly rod, and you're going to be awful at it. And it's easy to get frustrated. I can't do this, and you toss it and walk away. You're doing this. I'm doing this when nobody's watching. Jimmy Johnson is literally doing this with the eyes of the sporting world watching him as he is failing week in and week out. He submitted his ego. He put aside his pride and said, now I'm paraphrasing, I never spoke to the man, but it's pretty obvious something thought process like this was involved. I'm going to try this. I'm going to do this because I want to challenge myself. And that's exactly what he's doing. Let's go to year 2, which is what he is in right now. This is year number 2. He has decided he's going to run the oval races this year. Now, this bodes well for Jimmy because he's got more experience turning left than he does turning left and right. And the results have been there. Jimmy Johnson got his first top 15 at Texas Motor Speedway this year. In fact, he finished 6th. And he was racing with multi-time series champ Scott Dixon, who also happened to be his teammate, but they were battling on the racetrack when the checkered flag fell. So Jimmy's going to run in the Indianapolis 500 this year. So here's what's going to happen. If you happen to watch this or you're a casual follower, you're going to see Jimmy Johnson runs the road race at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, the road course, left and right turns this Saturday, and he's probably not going to do very well. If Jimmy Johnson could crack the top 15 in a road race this year, let alone this weekend, it will be a victory for him. Okay. But he's not going to do well. He's not going to qualify very well. And he's not going to finish very well. And then fast forward 2 weeks after that to the Indianapolis 500, and he's got a shot at a top 10. I'd say a very likely shot at finishing in the top 10, and a long shot, I guess, to win the race. It would not be super surprising if he managed to put himself in position to win. But again, he's just doesn't have the experience. And he has no experience on this racetrack and these cars. But you're going to see a lot better. He's going to be much more competitive at the end of the month than he is at the beginning of the month. And I want you to keep in mind, he's doing this in the era of social media, where after every road race, all the so-called experts jump on and how terrible Jimmy Johnson is, and he shouldn't be doing this, and he should just go mow lawns and do whatever it is retired people do. I don't think he'll ever admit this, but he knows that negativity is out there. There's negativity, people at the racetrack that, yell things, unfriendly, unkind things out as drivers walk by as they're sitting in the grandstand. So he is well aware of what a lot of folks think about what he's doing, but he doesn't care. He doesn't care. He's still doing it. So if you are looking at trying something new, with me, it was ice hockey. With you, it might be tennis, golf, shooting, sports, archery. I don't care, whatever it is. Do not let your pride and ego stop you from doing something that's good for your health, good for your mental health, and is just going to make your life more well-rounded and better. Don't be afraid to suck at something brand new today. Hey, do me a favor again, if you haven't already, please subscribe to this podcast. And while you're in that generous mood, if you could jump over to YouTube, check us out over there. Would you please? Judy and TJ's Midlife Adventure. Judy is spelled Judy. And, check out our videos. Please give us a thumbs up there too. Subscribe to our channel, ring the notification bell. All these things you do, they mean a lot. We're very appreciative of it, and they help us, the ways I described earlier, keep providing some of this content for you. We will be back next week, I'm pretty sure. If not, we'll be back the week after that. Don't you worry. And we'll be talking probably a lot more about the Indianapolis 500 and my experiences out there. And you can also catch that on YouTube as well. Thanks, everybody, for watching and listening. Have a great week, and we'll talk to you soon.